Certainly. Thank you very much, Leader Pelosi. I find that we appear to be coming to this room more and more as women, as you lead us in addressing many of the issues that are arising in this Congress and our need to push back on the negative impact of much of what is being done by our friends on the opposite side of the aisle. Yesterday we did have Mr. Bernanke in our committee, and he came to tell us what he's doing with quantitative easing.
Okay, right here. Quantitative easing is an unconventional monetary policy used by central banks to stimulate the national economy when conventional monetary policy has become ineffective. Central bank implements quantitative easing by buying financial assets from the commercial banks and other private institutions, thus creating money and injecting a predetermined quantity of money into the economy. This is distinguished from the more usual policy of buying or selling government bonds to change money supply in order to keep the market interest rates at a specified target value. Expansionary monetary policy typically involves the central bank buying short-term government bonds in order to lower short-term market rate interest. However, when short-term interest rates are at or close to zero, normally monetary policy can no longer lower interest rates. Quantitative easing may then be used by monetary authorities to further stimulate the economy by purchasing assets of longer maturity than only short-term government bonds, and thereby lowering longer-term interest rates further out on the yield curve. Quantitative easing raises the prices of the financial assets bought, which lowers their yield. Okay, now gotta go right here. Gotta move this over. Quantitative easing can be used to help ensure the inflation does not fall below target. Risks include policy being more effective than intended in acting against deflation, leading to higher inflation, or of not being effective enough if the banks do not lend the additional reserves. According to the IMF and various other economists, quantitative easing undertaken since the global financial crisis has mitigated the adverse effects of the crisis. It don't work. Why are you doing it?
And that is trying to stimulate the economy with the bond purchases that he's been doing, because he's trying to keep the interest rates low and create jobs. And he said that if sequestration takes place, that's going to be a great setback. We don't need to be having something like sequestration that's going to cause these job losses, over 170 million jobs. That could be lost. And so he made it very clear he's not opposed to cuts, but cuts must be done over a long period of time and in a very planned way, rather than this blunt cutting that will be done by sequestration.
The Federal Reserve secretly gave nearly $8 trillion, that's T for trillion dollars, to American and international banks during the 2008 bailout, according to Bloomberg News. The banks made an estimated $13 billion in profits through this scheme. Did Congress have a clue? 9 of the largest banks that received the secret Fed bailouts paid nearly 5,000 of their employees $1 million or more in bonuses. Question: where did the Fed get most of the $7.7 trillion? Answer: they created it out of nothing. That's right, the Federal Reserve creates money, a constitutional privilege the founders had reserved to Congress. The Fed secretly picked winners and losers, propping up big banks.
Gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Bernanke, I'm looking at the report that you handed out this morning, and I was wondering if you could take your copy and turn to page 26.
Okay.
There's a table on page 26 which consists of your balance sheet, and one of the entries on the balance sheet is under assets, central bank liquidity swaps, which shows an increase from the end of 2007 from $24 billion to $553 billion and change at the end of 2008. What's that?
Those are swaps that were done with foreign central banks. Many foreign banks are short dollars and come into our markets looking for dollars and drive up interest rates and create volatility in our markets. What we have done is, with a number of major central banks, like the European Central Bank, for example, we swap our currency, dollars, for their currency, euros. They take the dollars, lend it out to the banks in their jurisdiction. That helps bring down interest rates in the global market for dollars. And meanwhile, we're not lending to those banks, we're lending to the central bank. The central bank is responsible for repaying us.
So who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries.
Which ones?
I don't know.
$500 billion and you don't know who got the money?
The loan went to the loans go to the central banks, and they then put them out to their institutions to try to bring down short-term interest rates in dollar markets around the world.
Well, let's start with which central banks got the money.
There are 14 of them, which are listed in our, I'm sure they're listed in here somewhere.
All right, so who actually made that decision to hand out $1 trillion that way, $500 billion? Who made that decision?
The Federal Open Market Committee.
Okay, and was it done at one time or in a series of meetings?
A series of meetings.
And under what legal authority?
We have a long-standing legal authority to do swaps with other central banks.
Do you have?
As you know, in this committee, we have all of HUD. And HUD is responsible for so many programs that determine the quality of life for women and families. CDBG, our formula grant programs, will be cut by $153 million. These are grants to cities that help with women and children and low-income programs. We also will cut the home program by $52 million if sequestration takes place. Native American housing grant by $34 million. Housing choice grants by $113 million. Public housing, mostly single women in public housings, another $304 million.
This is where it all started at, right here. Yes, we can.
Do you like broken homes? Yes, we can. Do you like broken communities? Yes, we can. Do you like broken families? Yes, we can.
Everything in Chicago is controlled by the Democratic Party. Everything in my community is controlled by black Democrats. There is no Tea Party in my community. There is no Republicans in my community. So they can't blame Republicans. They can't blame Tea Parties.
Most American people, especially people of my ethnicity, they don't understand that people create jobs, not government. They think if I go out to get a job, prime example, they have 1,000 jobs at Walgreens offering. You got 500,000 people standing in line. They don't understand, a lot of Americans, including people of my ethnicity, they don't understand that people, since the pop and mom shops, create jobs.
Democrats have been in control of this community for about 40 years.
Right.
And my question to you is, do you feel that it's the policies of the party have helped this community or hurt this community?
It has hurt this community because they feel like that they can just take us for granted and that we're just going to vote Democratic anyway. But if there was a Republican who was out here doing what I feel he should be doing, I would vote for him.
There have been a lot of players at the table within a community that have been there for a while, but there's no effect again.
Do you think that their interest is in the community, or are they self-motivated?
I think they're self-motivated, and in a lot of cases their interest is not in the community, and in a lot of cases a lot of them don't even live in the community.
And is that black leadership or white leadership, or?
It's black leadership. It's black leadership.
What kind of support do you think that you're getting from the president, being from Chicago?
Well, right now, I haven't seen that much support from the president as far as these communities are concerned. What I've seen is he's put his support overseas. Well, the same support he's putting overseas, he should put here in this neighborhood, because we are hurting too.
We're not happy with what's going on. And the only way we get to the bottom of this is that we take a step back and we say that we're undecided at this point. We're undecided because our agenda has not been met on, has not been adhered to. And it's almost as if it's just saying, even though you got nothing, even though nobody has addressed your issues, just go with them anyway. And we say no.
President's policies failing the black community or helping?
It's failing. It's failing.
Million. And homelessness. Everybody claims to be concerned about homelessness and the growing number of women and children who are out there homeless. But look, they will take a $99 million hit, and on and on and on. And so we're here today, one more time, talking about women and children and families and how we can protect our women, children, and families and have a decent quality of life. Sequestration will set us back. All of the gains that we have made will be lost with sequestration.
Well, the banks accelerated foreclosure on millions of American homes. Unlimited resources for the banks, nothing for the American people. Does there exist a more graphic example of how thoroughly rotten this financial system is? Now do you understand Occupy Wall Street? 10 million homes are in jeopardy, 14 million people out of work, 50 million without health care, endless wars. The Fed creates money out of nothing, gives it to banks, banks keep it on deposit, gain interest, pay high bonuses, fat city. Well, the rest of America falls apart. The Fed creates money out of nothing for the banks. Meanwhile, the rest of us have to be stuck in a debt-based economic system? I don't think so. We need to regain our sovereignty over the banks. We must take back the power the Federal Reserve grabbed in 1913 and reclaim Congress's constitutional right to create money and to invest it, to create jobs, save homes, enable education for all, health care for all, retirement security, and peace. Is this possible? Is there a way to make this happen? Yes.